Is your marriage worth 75 minutes? Be honest with yourself. Is your marriage worth 75 minutes of your time? If the answer is yes, then this episode's for you. Today on the Fallible Man podcast, I have author and marriage counselor Kelly Dupee joining us with 36 years of his own marriage experience, plus all his years of counseling, to help us learn how to be married. Because I was never taught to be married, at least not in school. Like I wasn't. So maybe he's onto something here. We're not taught to be married. He's also going to share with us 5 skills to learn for a healthy relationship. Now, if you want to skip to the meat of the show and get past the get to know you segment, there's timestamps in the description, whatever platform you're on, so you can skip ahead. Or if you just want to get to know Kelly, watch the full thing. Kelly wanted to share something really special with you, and then we'll get started.
Learn how to be married. Don't try to figure this out on your own. Take the time to learn how to do it right and how to do it successfully, and it will save you tons emotionally, financially, in all ways. Save yourself the trouble. Learn how to be married.
Here's the $1,000,000 question. How do men like us reach our full potential, growing to the men we dream of becoming while taking care of our responsibilities, working, living, being good husbands, fathers, and still take care of ourselves? Well, that's the big question. And in this podcast, we'll help you with those answers and more. My name is Brent, and welcome to the Fallible Man podcast. Welcome to the Fallible Man podcast, your home for all things man, husband, and father. Big shout out to Fallible Nation. That's what I like to call our longtime listeners, and our warm welcome to our first-time listeners. Hey, there's a lot out there competing for your time. We know it. And from the bottom of our hearts, thanks for giving us a chance. We really appreciate it. Be sure and connect with me at the Fallible Man on most social media platforms. I'm particularly active on Instagram. Let me know what you thought of the show. If you enjoyed it, what I could do better. And hey, if you really enjoyed it, share it with a friend or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. That helps us reach more people. My name is Brent. Today, my special guest is pastor, coach, and author, Kelly Dupee. Kelly, welcome to the Fallible Man podcast.
Hey, Brent, how you doing?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited. The caffeine's starting to flow. We're good.
Awesome.
Now, Kelly, I like to start things pretty light. So how are your trivia skills?
Trivia skills. Oh, it depends on the topic, but I think I'm pretty good at that.
Okay, that's good.
History would be my go-to. If we got any history questions, go for it.
Close. So which of these is the most visited attraction in the world? Is it A, the Eiffel Tower, B, the Statue of Liberty, C, the Forbidden City, or D, the Colosseum?
Ooh. And I love to travel as well. So a large part of my ministry at the church was leading mission teams. Been to Paris several times. I'm gonna go with the Eiffel Tower. That's my favorite.
All right, guys, you know the rules. Don't cheat. Don't look it up. Make your guess. And if you're driving, please don't write it down. I know a lot of you listen to this in the car. We'll come back to that later. Now, Kelly, I don't do huge introductions because no one cares. Accolades, 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 right? In this moment today in your life, who is Kelly Dupee in your own words?
Oh, Kelly Dupee is a husband, a follower of Jesus Christ, a dad, a grandpa, and a marriage coach. The Lord has kind of shifted me out of my position on staff at a church for over 35 years, and I'm focusing now on helping couples with their marriages and just loving it. The conversations I have, it's not counseling, I call it coaching. It's all about learning skills and applying skills, and then helping couples reconnect, solve their problems, get back on track. And I'm just really enjoying what the Lord's doing right now through this aspect of ministry. So that's who I am. My first relationship, like I said, is with the Lord. And then after that, it's my wife, my kids, and then anybody else that I can help, including the West Covina Police Department. I'm in the Los Angeles area, and I serve as the chaplain. West Covina is a suburb town about 20 miles or less, maybe 15 miles east of LA, and love being a part of that department and helping, those who wear the badge and serve our community with bravery and integrity. So I am very excited to be here today.
I love that, Kelly. You're providing tremendous service. I have several friends who are in law enforcement. So thank you for continuing to service there. Those brave men and women need a shoulder to lean into. So thank you for that. Kelly, what is your best dad joke?
Oh gosh. You know, my wife has told me a long time ago, don't tell jokes. And so um I'm just not that kind of guy. I am not really okay. I don't know. I guess it's a dad joke. All right, here's one for you. What did Jesus say to the disciples? What was the first thing, I'm sorry, that Jesus said to the disciples at the Last Supper?
What?
Hey, everybody, get on this side of the table for the picture.
I like it. Coming
There you go.
from a church background, I like it because
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's one off the top of my head.
that painting always cracked me up. It's like, yeah, I'm sure that's what dinner looked like.
Yes, exactly.
Biggest pet peeve.
Oh, huh. It bugs me when people ask a question and preface it by saying, "Can I ask you a question?" I'm like, just ask the question. You don't need my permission. You know, it's like, can I ask you a question? No, I'm busy. Leave me alone. Of course, ask me a question, but you don't need to ask me a question if you can ask me a question.
I totally get that. So I will try and do better than that today. Batman or Superman?
Oh, Batman. You want to know why?
Yeah, I do.
He doesn't have any superpowers. He just has a lot of money and buys or makes really cool stuff that allows him to do the job.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the story.
I've never been a Superman fan. That's my best friend and I are like, button heads. He's a Superman guy. I'm like, yeah, Superman sucks. But I try not to judge people. Everybody's got their opinion. But I
That's
found
true.
every guy has an opinion on that. Like it's amazing. All dads can talk about being dads. All guys, Batman and Superman, like it's a hard line in the sand.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It's almost like Apple or Android. Everybody's
Right?
got an opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I avoid that because I'm a tech guy. I'm on both sides of that line, so I just avoid that argument.
There you go.
What purchase of $100 or less have you made in the last year that's had the most significant impact on your life?
Can we come back to that one? I am drawing a blank.
Like I told you before the show, there's no wrong answer, so you can sit on that one. Just
let me sit on that. I'm trying to remember, what have I bought for $100 or less that has made an impact?
Hey, I've had people who bought a pair of shorts for $70 that said it changed their lives, and I went, "You paid $70 for shorts?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine."
I one thing I bought that I remember thinking, wow, this is going to really help me. I signed up for a program, one of these guys online that help you do things, and in terms of your business, or in my case, my coaching ministry, and it was a workshop on how to use AI to produce a workbook, and it was $25, and I was thinking, wow, this is going to help me create this workbook to go with my book. And I think it's really going to help a lot of people. This was a great $25. So that was kind of the first thing that popped in my mind. I was trying to think of something that I did for my wife, but most of that was over $25. I mean, $100. So
These days, that question's getting much harder, right? With
yeah. Oh,
the
completely.
economy.
Yep.
If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Follow your heart, follow what God's telling you to do, and feel free to take more risks.
All right. If I were to sit down at your dinner table with your family, what is the funny story that they would inevitably tell about you to embarrass you?
Oh man, these are great questions. Funny story that they would tell to embarrass me. Oh gosh. I mean, I know lots of funny stories about them, but boy, what would they say about me? Um, wow. Once again, I'm drawing a blank here. Let's keep talking. Maybe something will come up. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be defensive, but I
No,
am. I'm like, oh, gee, huh.
I told you the first part of my show is a little different.
That's right.
We
That's
like to
right.
poke around a little bit, check under the hood, see
Okay,
who's
I got one. I got one. I just needed a moment. All right. So remember the time, Dad, when we threw a surprise birthday party for you, and we had all these people at our house, and was totally not expecting it. It was like a week or two after my birthday. I think it's when I turned 50 or 60, or I don't know, somewhere in that range there. But anyways, I came walking in the door, the lights were all off, which is, we usually leave the lights off when I'm away. My wife and I came walking in through the garage, and all of a sudden the lights go on and all these people yell happy birthday, and I freaked out. I'm like, "Ah!" I didn't yell and scream, but I was just like, I don't know, it was panic mode or something, and everybody laughed, and I laughed, and God, yeah, so I kinda remember that. So, they might tell that story. "Hey, dad, remember the time?"
It's the great thing about kids, right? They keep us honest
Oh, absolutely.
and humble. My
Yes.
kids like to tell stories on me, so I get it.
Great question.
What is one thing everybody should absolutely know about you before we dig into today's show?
I think the thing I asked a bunch of friends of mine, some guys in my men's group. I said, "If there's one word that would describe me, what would it be?" And it was the word compassion. And I was really honored by that. And so everything I talk about with people is because I care, and I want to help guys. I want to help couples. Want to help ladies as well. Mostly it's guys and couples that come to me for assistance and coaching, and just, hey, what do you think, Kelly, about this or that? And it really is an expression of, I think, God's care for them. And I just try to be an instrument of the Lord to bring God's loving compassion to as many people as I can. So, yeah, I think that might be a good thing to start with.
Awesome. Guys, we've been getting to know Kelly just a little bit, see who he is, check under the hood, see what makes him tick. In the next part of the show, we're going to dive into marriage. Now, whether you are a faith-based individual or not, that's irrelevant for this conversation because Kelly has some great insights and a lot of experience in not only his own marriage, but in coaching other people in their marriage. Whether you think your marriage is in great shape or you know you got enough experience under the hood, you need to keep working on it, or you feel like it's not, I promise there's something for you in this episode that will help you out. So be sure and stay tuned in for this. Now, Kelly, you've been married for 36 years, heading towards 37. Obviously, you've got some time in the game, so you're not speaking from this just academic level. You've done marriage counseling as a pastor. What possessed you to write a book?
Well, about 10 years ago, my son came to us, my wife and I, and said, "Hey, my girlfriend and I, we're engaged. We want to get married." And the next day, just in my prayer time every morning, I always try to spend some time talking to God and listening. And I really, just had the idea. I think it was from the Lord. Just start writing down all of your advice. What have you learned over the years? And I've, through the church where I've pastored, have done several marriage programs, and actually got a federal grant to teach a program to our community. And so, learned a lot of stuff, of course, being married. And so I just started, I made a simple outline, and then, every morning would just get on my computer and just start, typing. And so it really turned into something bigger than I ever thought it would. I was amazed at how much I had to say when I actually stopped and started thinking about it. And so one of my gifts is as a teacher. So that's kind of the thing that I came at it. And I was really picturing a brand new couple, or a young couple engaged, just like my son and his fiance at the time, and was writing to that audience. So this is kind of a manual on how to be married. So it's been helpful for couples that have been married for a long time, but it's definitely been helpful for couples just starting out.
Now, guys, oh, sorry, I forgot to pull off
Yay.
myself. We're talking about Kelly's book, Turn It Up, You'll find this in my library, of course, forever with links to Amazon. You can find on Amazon your own, but you just go to the library on my website and find that as well. Uh, Now, Kelly, as I understand it, reading the book, you believe that one of the things that is causing problems with, we'll say, the marriage statistics, right, is that people just kind of go into marriage, but they're not taught to be married, and that people should be taught how to be married. Can we talk about that for a minute?
Absolutely. Learning how to be married is I think, a critical component of what's missing today. A lot of couples, it's like, oh, we love each other, everything's going to be great, and then it's not great. I mean, is music great for a year or so? So newly married couples, yeah, it's the honeymoon phase, is what they call it, and then after that, the reality sets in, and the stuff that you start noticing the things that bug you about the person you just married. And a lot of couples, myself included, you have doubts. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? And a lot of couples, usually in that year 1 through 5, call it quits. They don't last till year 5. Year 7 is another time, but that's because usually that's when the kids start showing up, and then all of the problems and issues that are already there now become amplified because of the pressure of having, the little babies to take care of. And so, anyways, a lot of couples, they just don't get through that. And I think it's because they don't know how. So that's been kind of my heart behind this, is let me teach you how. I've learned how, and I've learned it the hard way. And after the book, by the way, was written, my wife and I went through probably the roughest patch of our entire lives, certainly our entire marriage, in that we almost didn't make it. And I think God was just kind of saying, okay, well, you want to teach about marriage? You want to be an example of working through hard stuff? Yeah, it's your turn to go through some tests. And I don't believe God causes the tests, but and that's a whole nother discussion, but he uses those tests and trials that we go through to teach us lessons. And so a lot of what I learned in that period, even after the book was written, is definitely what I'm using today to help couples get through those tough times. And we got some help, and we were able to work through all of that. And like I said, coming up on 37 years of marriage, and more in love now than ever. And but yeah, there was a time when we got really tested as well, but we learned what to do to get through that. So yes.
Okay. My wife and I are coming up on 23 years this coming weekend.
This
Yeah,
weekend.
let me say that
Congratulations.
for all of you who are listening, that's a point of reference from when I'm recording this, not from when it's going to air. So if you're hearing this, we're already past that. Yeah, my wife and I are coming up on this coming weekend, our 23rd anniversary, and I'm looking forward to another 23 years or more, whatever God gives us. But there's definitely been those, right, those times in marriage. I remember that first year or two was just like, I call it the puppy dog love phase. Like there is no wrong, and then like life happens, and you realize, oh, maybe they're not perfect. I was terrified because like I wouldn't have stayed married to me for 23 years. I'm a pain. So the fact that my wife is, stuck with me through good and bad for 23 years, I feel very blessed in that. But there were definitely some times it's like, oh man. And that getting past that honeymoon phase, you're just like, oh, you snore, or oh, it's not cute that little noise you make when you brush your teeth, right? All those little nuances that in that first year, it's like, oh, that's so cute. By year 3, you're like, I'm going to strangle you. It's
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah,
you know, I
absolutely.
actually made a statement early in the book that kind of took me by surprise.
Mm.
You stated most relationships in painfully are stay together while being unhappy, which just blew my mind. Most people who are in supporting marriage in that area in their life or working in that industry are generally pulling for the good stuff. So I liked it because it was like, wait, this guy may have a practical approach to this. No blinders. Can you explain that statement a little bit?
Yeah, and maybe I overstated it, or maybe you're misquoting me. I'm gonna have to look it up again. To say that most marriages are either unhappy or end is probably not what I meant to say. I would say that a lot of marriages are, however, unhappy or then end. I mean, the divorce rate today, and it's been that way for all my life, as long as I can remember. I've heard people say the divorce rate is about 50%. So, I mean, what other thing in life do you have a 50% chance of failing? I mean, it's not a good picture. So a lot of couples, and I've also been intrigued by the fact that there is a divorce industry out there, that actually is encouraging, or, maybe not encouraging, but they certainly are enabling it, that we can make this easy for you. We can help you get through this. And I kind of understand what they're trying to do, and I don't fault them for trying to earn a living and helping people in that way. But, one of the things that I want to do is I want to be on the top of the cliff telling people to turn around rather than be at the bottom of the cliff in an ambulance to pick them up when they've crashed. And so, for me, yeah, so a lot of marriages end, and then a lot of them, they're just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just doomed to a life of unhappiness because of the fact that, maybe it's their upbringing and their background, their religious beliefs or whatever, but they just believe that divorce is wrong. I would much prefer, by the way, a couple to go that route, because chances are, as you work through it, love does grow and it blossoms, but the grass is not greener on the other side. And you need to figure out how to make it work. And if you do, then you can experience, I think, some great things in life and in your marriage. So I think everybody starts out, they want two things. They want their marriage to be great, and they want it to last. Sadly, that's not, I think, the reality for a lot of couples. Maybe most is an overstatement, though, but certainly for a lot. And divorce is painful, and it is devastating, to the families, to the kids. I don't care what the psychologists say that, well, you can bounce back and recover and heal. You know what? If you can avoid that pain, by all means do so. It is, and I've as a pastor, I do a lot of funerals, and I talk to a lot of people about how to handle grief when someone dies. The emotional reaction that is unavoidable to a divorce is the same as if in fact, it's worse in many ways, as if your partner or your spouse died. It is the same reaction emotionally, because and actually, if you think about it, something did die. Your marriage died. So, yeah, it's do what you can to make it work and figure out, how do we stay married and how do we make it great? And I think the answers are pretty, not that hard to find.
All right. Now I'll send you that notation if you want. Uh, I generally try and be careful and make sure I don't take things out of context, so I can send you that notation. You look
Oh,
back.
okay.
I know
I,
you wrote
you
it.
know, I
You
I
wrote it a
know
while
exactly.
ago,
I
so
know, and I saw exactly what chapter that's from. So you don't need to send that to me. And I hope I didn't accuse you of misquoting me, but
no, no. But I you know what? I like people keeping me honest, right?
oh, okay.
And so it's absolutely fair to say, am I misquoting that one, or because you wrote the book,
Yeah.
so. No, it just stuck out to me. I told you when
Yeah.
we were talking off camera, I go to a lot of marriage classes, a lot of studies and stuff like that. I'm always looking for fresh and honest takes on it, because I've been to a lot of quote unquote marriage classes or read relationship books, and I'm just like, okay, this is all crap. They're blowing smoke up your butt. It's right. This person's not grounded in reality. And I find out that the author has been married for like 4 happy years and has 3 kids. It's like, what do you know about marriage, man?
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
maybe it's I hate to call it old man syndrome, right? As you get older, your perspectives change and you start to look at things and you're like, when someone who's been married for 4 years is trying to tell me how to save my marriage or protect my marriage, and I've been married for 20 plus, I'm like, "Ah, come back to me. You haven't even hit the hard years yet.
Oh,
So,
exactly, exactly. And
uh,
I do have a tendency when I'm doing premarital coaching, I'm like, okay, guys, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This is going to be hard and this is going to be challenging more than you know. And here's what you need to do to get ready for it. And yeah, that is my approach. I think we need to face the reality of the situation and then move forward with confidence. You can move forward trusting that we are going to work it out, but it's not going to be like it is in the movies. It's just not. Life isn't that way, and I think my experience, both as a pastor, but also, as a member of a police department, as their chaplain, life is hard. Life is painful. And bad things really do happen to good people. And that's kind of, I think, influenced a lot of my the way I help folks. It's like, you know what? Yeah, if you think that knowing Jesus is going to make everything easy, and I know we're not on camera right now, but just anyways, my approach to that, I just want to face the reality of it, and then we can invite God into it to bless us and to help us. So, anyways,
we are on camera.
I was going for it there.
I like it. We are on camera, actually.
Oh, we are. Okay,
We're
cool.
recording. We're good. No, this whole thing's in. No, I love that. And that's actually why I asked, because I like that approach. To me, that gains a lot of credit to you as a counselor and a coach for marriage, because I've seen way too many coaches, marriage coaches, who are trying to paint this glorious picture, and it's like, no, let's deal with reality, because if you have false expectations going in, you're just hurting things.
Yeah.
Now, I want to lightly touch on a couple parts in the book. In chapter 4, it's about demonstrating your love, which I loved reading, because you're actually talking about taking action in your relationships. Too many people, I think, feel like, okay, I got married, we're done, right? We're together, yay, I won. And they miss that it's an active choice every single day, by the way you live, by the way you do things. So let's talk about that just a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So, the first part of the book, I have what I call 5 commitments to make. And then the second part is 5 skills to learn. So, under the commitments, the difference between a commitment and a skill you're going to use in a situation. Okay. So, I'm being faced with a specific situation. What do I do now? A commitment, however, is something that you need to wake up every day and do, and demonstrating your love to your wife is absolutely critical. I mean, God sets the example. John 3:16, maybe you've heard of that verse before. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believes in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. Well, the word in there that we need to apply to our marriage is give or gave. Okay. So, in the same way that God gave his son to us, every day as a husband, I'm thinking about, what can I do to give to my wife? How can I help her? There's another verse in Ephesians that says it this way. It says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. And then later it says, husband loves your wives and wives respect your husbands. So when I read what God wants me to do as a husband, it's all about, okay, I need to love my wife as Christ loved the church. Wow, what did he do? Well, he sacrificed himself for us. Now, how do I put that in a practical way? Yeah, absolutely. If somebody's coming after my wife or my kids, I'm not going to let them hurt them. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to defend them. And if it costs me my life, so be it. I'm going to lay down my life. But for most of us, the majority of us, come on, guys, let's be real. No one is coming at your wife with a gun or a knife. Okay. They are not going to rape her or attack her. It doesn't happen. Now, it can happen. I get it. And we need to be ready to learn how and know how to defend. But you know what I'm saying is that if you're ready to do that, what keeps you, or can you have that same attitude of giving and sacrifice and loving in doing nice things for her? Make her coffee in the morning, you know, clean up after yourself around the house if that bugs her. Um, wash your car. Here's one of the things that my wife came to me, and I actually tell this story right at the beginning of the book. But about 7 years into our marriage, she came to me and she said, I don't feel like I'm special to you. And I was shocked. I was like, "What do you mean?" And so really what she and what I want to challenge you guys to think about is what can you do to make your wife feel special? And she gave me some suggestions, by the way. She was very practical. One of the things I still do to this day is called a just because gift. And so I was raised with the attitude, and I know this is a long answer to your question, so I'll try to keep this short, but I was raised sort of with this thing about, you give gifts on occasions, your birthday, Christmas, stuff like that. And she goes, "Don't give me a gift just because it's my birthday or it's Christmas or Valentine's Day. Give it to me just because you love me. Surprise me with something." And it does, and I don't mean go spend a lot of money, just do a little gesture. So I'll go and buy a greeting card and then mail it to her office, or just have flowers for her when she comes home, or little things, and serving and giving. How can I make your life easier is a question I ask myself about my wife all the time. What can I do for you? How can I demonstrate? Because love isn't just a feeling, love is an action, love is a verb. And to quote another scripture, Romans 5:8 tells us that God demonstrated his own love for us in this, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So demonstration is what counts. Was talking to a guy yesterday on a coaching call, and his wife was telling him that he's failing in showing her how much he loves her. And I'm like, "Okay, dude, let's talk about it. We got to figure out a way for you to start doing that more effectively and more consistently." It's not the big gift, by the way, that counts. It's not the vacation once a year. You know what it is? It's the little stuff day by day. That's what is going to create that kind of atmosphere in your marriage, and it's going to really make things stronger.
And guys, we've talked about the love languages. We won't dive into that in this episode, but knowing your wife's love language will
Critical.
really help you with this aspect of it. But I love that you share that story. I remember reading the story in the book and was like, I don't even know how I would respond if my wife walked up and told me that. I'd be like, right, because we tend to express love in our love language, and as men, right, we really fall into that whole provider. I'm taking and I'm fixing things around the house, right? I'm taking care of the house. I'm taking care of this. I'm doing this, and that may be great, but our spouse may have a totally different love language. In fact, my wife and I, that's one of the things that has helped our marriage greatly was when we studied the five love languages together, because we found out we are on different sides of that entirely. My words of affirmation is the bottom for me. I could care less if you say something nice to me. Um, I don't need to hear it. I don't need any kind of affirmation from anybody. My wife is a huge words of, so for me that was a huge work in my marriage, is trying to remember to do those words of affirmation and speak to her like that, because I couldn't care less. So I'm like, I don't need that, right? So you just don't do it. Um, so taking that action is important. And then there's one more spot I've got to hit on that I read and I was just blown away, right? Because I don't think we're taught how to validate. You talk about
Mm.
chapter 8, like I highlighted that section of the book. We're not taught how to validate. And a lot of times when men are kind of faced with that concept of validation, we're faced with it with a very, how do I say this without getting totally canceled? With a very feminine perspective, right? The way it's
Yeah.
presented to us to validate people's feelings, right? Like I cringe, like the hairs on my neck stand up every time I hear the words, "Well, you need to validate their action." I'm like, oh, no, I just want to punch somebody. It's so counterintuitive to
Yeah.
a lot of men. Tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about validating our spouses.
So good. So good. Yeah. Well, first off, let me tell you what not to do. All right. Here is the biggest temptation, and I fall into this all the time. The biggest mistake that I hear from a lot of guys, all right, your wife comes to you and she's upset. And maybe it's something you did. Okay. If my wife is like in tears or she's upset or she's angry, my first question is, what did I do now? Right.
It's fair.
And so
Fair.
once she tells me that no, it's not about you, I'm like, phew, okay, now what? You know. So here's the thing. We go into fix it mode. Think about it. Yeah, we all do. Because that's how God made us as men. Our job is to be the fixer. We're going to fix stuff around our house. We're going to work hard or pay someone to fix stuff around our house. If you can't do it yourself, you get it. You
Mhm.
know, you can still you get stuff done and you take care of things, and we are geared towards action and activity. In fact, when guys get together, notice we like to do stuff shoulder to shoulder. When women get together, they like to do stuff face to face. Why? Because it's all relational. So, anyways, back to the question. When your wife is troubled and it's not about you because you didn't screw up, what do you do? Here's the thing. Listening is helping. Okay. I know it's hard to do, especially if she's emotional. But let me tell you that what she needs is not your advice. She doesn't need you to fix it. And if she does need that, wait for her to ask for it. That one little tip is going to change your marriage. Okay, so she's upset. What are you going to do? You're going to listen. You're going to ask questions gently. Don't interrupt, but kind of wait for that moment between sobs or whatever it might be, where you can kind of say, well, tell me more. How did that make you feel? Be a listener, because if you want to help your wife, that's how you do it. And it's really counterintuitive for us as guys. And it's really hard because we don't like emotion. We don't like to see emotion. We don't like to be emotional ourselves, for most of us, right? So just be in that moment and recognize that you can do it. God will give you the strength, and be a man and step up and be there as her knight in shining armor by listening. Okay. Then, as part of that, ask yourself, if I was going through this, what would I feel? How would I feel? You know what that's called? Empathy. And once again, that's one of those words that everybody, we don't understand. And we think it's really women do that. Men don't do that. You know what? We do. We can. And it is an act of strength. Okay. So is validation. So here's what you do to validate. First off, you're listening. Secondly, you're trying to feel what they're feeling. Okay. That's called empathy. And then validation is simply this: what you're going through, what you're feeling makes sense. That's all it is, guys. Don't make it complicated. Don't make it hard. Oh, okay. So your boss just came in and yelled at you because you forgot to do whatever. And now you feel like a failure. And now you think you're going to lose your job. And how are we going to pay our rent? And, all this other stuff that she's feeling. All right. So most guys, we're into like, okay, let's figure out how to pay the rent. No, no, no. That's not what she needs. Right. So validate. I could see why you feel that way, honey. And it's okay. It's okay to feel that way. I know you're afraid. If I was in your shoes, maybe I'd feel afraid too. And that it makes her, because see, when we're upset, the natural go-to that we all feel is, I must be losing my mind. I must be crazy. You want to assure her that she's not crazy, that it's normal to feel that way. In fact, when I'm talking to cops and they go through stuff that you would not believe, I mean, it is way different than what you see on TV and in the movies. I mean, being a police officer is way more difficult than I ever thought. And I'm not an officer, but I hang out with them, and I'm there to talk to them. And it's all about reminding them that, you know what, you're not Superman. You're human, just like like everybody else. You feel stuff, you see stuff. So let's talk about it. And it's just having that listening ear and validating them. In fact, how I learned how to validate in my marriage, I learned it from the training I got as a police chaplain, and or it really helped a lot of that. But or I learned how to do it better, I should say. But anyways, it's all about, it makes sense. I understand what you're going through, what
Guys,
she needs, and that's what's going to help.
on that note, okay, my wife and I just said it. hitting 23 years this weekend. I blew this entirely yesterday. This is a work in progress at all times. I started strong. Like, she came to me about something, and I started well with listening. I stopped what I was doing and started listening. But the longer the conversation went, the more I got into fix it mode. It's like, okay, I heard you, I listened, but I had other stuff to do. And so my brain was like, well, where do we go from here? Right. I started
Yeah.
moving to that, and I totally blew this guy's yesterday.
Mhm.
Totally blew in this exact scenario. My wife just lost a big client that she's worked with for years.
Mm. Mhm.
The client's business is going through a massive change. The client's just burnt out on what they're doing. And so she's making some radical changes. And my wife lost this client that she's had for years, and she was feeling horrible. And I blew this, guys, entirely. So even if you've been married for several years, this is something we have to actively work on, because it's not in our normal wheelhouse for a lot of us guys,
Mhm.
right? This is something that's a work in progress. So I wrote this question before this even happened yesterday. So
And I'm still working on it too. And I do it a lot, and I need to do it a lot in the situations that I find myself in. That's what I'm there to do. But I got to tell you, it's still something I'm learning how to do and practicing. It's hard to do. It's really challenging. But you know what? You can. And don't worry about getting it right. Just try. That's all I got to tell you guys. Just give it a shot. Give it your best shot to and if you can't think of anything to say, once again, being there, being patient and listening and allowing her to just work through the emotions and process that. So here's another thing I learned just recently. I got this from a therapist, is that emotions need motion. So when you're listening and she's talking, she's giving motion to the feelings that are trapped inside of her. Okay. And guys, we need this in our life too. If you don't have a place or a friend, or if your wife, going to your wife, if you can, and a lot of wives don't really want to do this, but in a good marriage, or hopefully, yeah, go to your wife, go to a friend as well, in addition to, and just process the pain you're feeling, because you're going through stuff just like everybody else, and you have feelings too. Now, you may not have the great feeling word vocabulary, so I put a whole list in the back of the book just to help you with that. But anyways, learning how to share your feelings is something that will really help you deal with the challenges of life too. And allowing someone to validate you, is you're going to feel really good afterwards. You're going to feel understood. You're going to feel known. And that's what is a deep human need in all of us.
now, guys, we've been discussing marriage and the ins and outs, part of Kelly's book, and some of the things he highlighted in that, and some very important insights for your marriage if you want it to be healthy. In this part of the show, we're going to dive into the 5 skills to learn for healthy relationships that Kelly covers in his book. Now, we're going to give you a ground place to work on that from, some ideas, things to work on. I'm going to point you back to Kelly's book, say, hey, if you really want to go in depth on this and really are not following, Kelly's book is the place to go. One thing I've learned after doing over 100 plus interviews is I can't cover a whole book. It's impossible. Now, Kelly, you list 5, and this is the second part of a set of skills. You have uh, how did
5
you
commitments.
you have your commitments, right? And the skills really pair with those to make this all synchronize and work effectively. One of the skills you say, and I think we touched on it a little bit in last, is we need to learn to share our feelings, which for most of us as men are going, but we're heading into uncomfortable territory here, guys. Just be frank. So tell us a little bit about that. What do you
Yep.
mean sharing our feelings? Are we gonna get like all weepy and cuddly with our, what is this?
Okay. Well, basically it's this. And yeah, feelings is the F word. So, if it's hard for you, I get it. It's hard for me as well. But it is the opening. So here's the thing to remember. Think about, what do you want? Okay? What do you want? What do you want your marriage to be like? If you want to be close to your spouse, to your wife, and if you want your wife to feel close to you, the way to do that is to share your feelings with her and to let her share her feelings with you. So, a way to do that is really easy is just ask her the question, how did that make you feel? Okay. The other phrase that pays is tell me more. Just start asking that question. How did that make you feel? And then maybe she'll ask you. Now, at first, you may say, I don't know. Okay. And she may say that to you, by the way. Well, I don't know how I feel, or I don't know how that made me feel. All right. Just think about it and just, reflect for a little bit and just try. And like I said, in the back of the book is a feeling word list. So you can look up, just go there and it's all under categories. So if you're feeling angry, well, look at the different words that describe that emotion, anger. Or if you're feeling happy, look at those different words and find one that kind of matches what you feel. Because you could be, if you're angry, you could be frustrated. You could also be enraged, okay, because you're really angry, right? Well, that's what this is all about. It's just describing it a little bit more deeper. And then when she says, well, why do you feel that way? Just go for it. Just tell her, yeah, well, it's, and whatever comes to your mind. Opening up like that is going to really make your marriage stronger.
Guys, and that appendix is going to help because there are more feeling words in that appendix than I actually knew there were. So let's just be honest there. There are way more words in that list than I actually knew existed for feelings. And I would not ever say 90% of these. So learning opportunity, gentlemen. I did not know there are that many words for feelings. So go hit Appendix A in the book. It's going to help increase your vocabulary at the same time. Now, you said the second skill we need to learn is to understand each other. Now,
this is huge.
A lot of us think we understand our spouse pretty well, but do we really?
Yeah. So once again, what do you want? If you want a great marriage, learning how to understand. So understanding starts with listening, but don't just listen to reply. See, here's the thing that we also fall into, and I'm guilty of this. Instead of listening to understand, we listen to reply. And basically, it works like this. In your mind, what are you saying to yourself when your wife is talking to you? Chances are you're probably saying, what am I going to say when she stops? Right? What am I going to say when she comes up for air? How can I get a word in edgewise here? Right? And so really focus on this. And I give a little simple tool in the chapter about how to listen and understand. And it's basically you give yourself a test. Okay, just like you're in school, when the teacher says this is going to be on the test, you listen up and you'll be like, oh, okay, I need to pay attention. So the test basically is this. When my wife stops talking, here's the one question on the test. When my wife stops talking, what did she say? So you want to be able to repeat it back in your own words. You don't need to get it perfect, but repeat it back in your own words and try to then empathize and think, what was she feeling as well? If you can say that back to her, then simply ask, hey, is that close? Did I understand it? And you know what? She may say, no, you didn't get it. It's not that at all. And then she looks at you like you're the biggest dummy in the world. But you know what? You tried. So kudos to you for trying. And then she'll explain it again or share it again. And then you try one more time. And you know what? You'll start, you will get to the place where she says, yeah, you understand. And I want to tell you guys, if you want closeness, if you want intimacy, when your wife feels understood, she is going to just melt into your arms like you won't believe. Why? Because that's what she's looking for with you. She wants an emotional intimacy that goes along then certainly with the physical intimacy that is really important in your marriage. So anyways, the point is listen to understand and focus on, I need to understand you. And then as she does that to you, you're going to feel closer to her as well.
Now, guys, let me give you a tip here. Your wife is one of the only places in the world where trying actually matters. As far as like whether you're successful or not, she's one of the only people in the world who's going to give you brownie points for making the effort. Even if you get it wrong the first couple times, when she can clearly tell you're trying, you're making a concerted effort to understand, that's brownie points. Like that, she will actually give you brownie points for that because she can at least see you're trying.
Mhm.
She may be
Absolutely.
frustrated that it's harder, that you didn't quite get it, but she will appreciate that you are making an effort, especially if this is something new for you. I still get the brownie points because I totally miss it most of the time, but I'm trying, right? Work in progress. This next, the next chapter, honestly, to me, is one of the hardest things in marriage. I read this chapter and went, why is this hard? After 23 years, it's still hard to ask for what you need. As
Yep.
men, we lean into that sacrificial love, as you were talking about earlier. And so my needs go to the background a lot. That's
Mhm.
not because my wife forces them in there, but because I put them back to focus on my children, my wife.
Mhm.
And so this chapter really kind of hit me. It's like, oh, I need to grow here.
Mhm.
Growing is painful, but I need to grow here because this is not something I'm good at. So, and that sounds weird for a lot of people, right? Asking for what you need. You have no problem with that at work a lot of times. But in a relationship, how do we ask for what we need?
Very good. Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think this is one of the keys of success in life. Okay. Not just in marriage, but in life. Um, when it's realizing that there are things that you cannot provide for yourself. And the opposite of that is this lie called self sufficiency. And I think one of the things that we fall into as guys is that if you're going to be a real man, you don't need anybody. And it's so dangerous to think that. Isolation is a killer, my friends, and I could go off on that for hours. But that tendency to isolate, to think that it's all just I'm going to take care of myself and I don't need people. Yes, you do need people. God made you that way. When a police officer shows up to a call, you know what he does? He calls for backup. Okay, he needs somebody to come alongside him into that situation, and we need to ask for help. Okay, and learning how to do this and learning how to ask for what you need is going to be a huge area of when you learn how to do this and work at it and stretch and push yourself a little bit. It's going to open up way more. It's going to improve your marriage. It's going to make your life better in lots of ways. Okay. So, first step, start thinking about what is it that, if you're not happy, if there's something missing, think about it and then ask specifically. Okay. And I go into the detail on this. My favorite story, I think I told this in the book, if not, but there was this couple that came to me and, her she asked her husband to put up the Christmas lights. Okay. And he didn't do it. And then she's like, well, he never does anything I say or anything I ask him to do. And I looked at the guy and I'm like, well, what's going on, buddy? He goes, it's not Christmas yet. And it was like the beginning of December, right? And so in her mind, she was saying, put up the Christmas lights now. And in his mind, he's like, well, I got until December 24th. What's the rush? So the point is, when you ask, be specific and then give your wife the timeline or allow her to give you the timeline. So I teach how to ask so that you can actually then get and enjoy that. But the first part of it, though, the chapter really deals with that whole idea of self sufficiency. And I want to encourage you guys, don't believe that lie. You are not able to meet all of the needs in life yourself. You're just not. God didn't make you that way. You need friends, and when if God has brought a wife into your life, He has brought her there to be a resource for you. So don't ignore that, but don't and it will bring you closer, by the way, when your wife realizes that she can help you. So the key to that is being vulnerable enough and taking that risk to ask. And you know what? I think you're going to be surprised at how this is going to be a game changer for you.
Now, guys, my 2 cents on that is, remember, this is a two-way street. So you open this door, That means when she asks you for something she needs, if you want her to reciprocate on that and take care of what you need, you have to be Johnny on the spot too. Okay. This isn't just, I asked for my needs and she's going to take care of it. Well, she's got needs too. And they're not all the needs you want to take care of. They're putting up the Christmas lights at the beginning of December. That was a fun story because that's the fight in my house. I'm like 2 weeks before Christmas. That's it. No more than that. January 1st, they're coming down.
Exactly. Yeah, me too.
People who put them up in October, I'm losing my mind. So now, speaking of that, because the next one is express your anger in a healthy way. And trust me, Christmas lights in October make me angry. I'm a Halloween guy. I like Halloween, not because there's anything valid to like it's my kids get to go have fun. That's what it is for me. But I get to be silly that day. I love Halloween, right? It's the one day I can totally be somebody else and just laugh and not take anything seriously. And so, yeah, anger, holiday lights at Christmas, where you just skip over everything from September into all the way to Thanksgiving. I'm losing my mind. So how do we express anger in a healthy way in our marriage?
And yeah, this is huge. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes I think couples make, and it's not always just a guy thing. Your wives fall into this trap too. But I think in general, it's more of a struggle for a man. Asking for what you need is usually a woman's struggle. They have a hard time with that, although we do too. But anger, let's talk about that. Let's be real. It is damaging. Okay, when you just vent your anger. So what happens, this scenario is either you do something that upsets your spouse, your wife, or she does something that upsets you, and you just lay into her, and you just go for it. And you know what you're doing? You are damaging her and you're damaging your marriage. So here's the thing you got to learn to do. Call a timeout on yourself. Okay? It's simple. But when you start feeling it to boil, and you know what it feels like it's raging up inside of you. If you can just take a moment and just say, wait a minute, I need to calm down. Okay. And so what is it? That's a sign in football, right? We're going to call a timeout. Call a timeout, walk away, but it's a promise to come back. Don't just say, I don't want to talk about this and just leave. That's going to just make your wife angry. All right. But you walk away and then you have a drink of water. My police friends taught me this, and it changes everything. It resets the part of your brain, because when you're angry, what happens is that the front part of your brain that deals with your decision-making ability, it actually shifts and the blood flow goes to the back. That's where fight or flight come in. So either if you're feeling attacked, you're either going to run away or you're going to fight back. So that tendency to fight back, stand your ground, and defend yourself. You've been offended, you've been hurt, so now you're going to defend. And that's where that's coming from, fight or flight. And you're not thinking, and you're probably going to say or do something that you will regret later. Okay? I mean, and I hope anybody listening to this has never, been arrested for domestic violence. But this is what happens when your brain shifts and you're in fight or flight mode. I mean, I have talked and heard stories of guys that just later, after they calm down, they're like, I can't believe I did that. Something just happened. I wasn't in control. Well, what was going on is that your anger was in control and you did something that now, have some significant consequences. Anyways, what do you got to do? You call a timeout, you have a drink of water, you think about, what do I need to say? And then you go back and you have what I call a calm, confrontational conversation. That will change everything. And now you can work through the issue in a calm way. But if you just allow that anger to just vent and explode all over the place, it's going to produce some really bad things in your life as well as in your marriage. So watch out for that anger. The Bible tells us, be angry, but don't sin. Where's the sin part of it? Is when it just explodes and you're just, and really at that point in time, you're not thinking about how bad you feel. You're trying to get revenge. You're trying to make the other person hurt. So hold that impulse in check. it is important to talk about your feelings, but do it in a way that's not going to damage the person you're talking to, certainly your wife.
Now, this next one really kind of caught me off guard, right? And it shouldn't, because money is one of the top disputes in all of marriage. It's one of the biggest causes of unhappy marriages and ultimately divorce is conflicts over money. But every couple seems to have their way they do this. My sister and her husband have been married for 22 years. Uh, they have completely separate bank accounts. They handle their own money. They split the bills. Nothing is joint. My wife and I have had a bank account. It's our bank account together since the day we got married. And to be honest, my wife manages it. I don't even know what's in there 99% of the time because I don't care. I make money and she pays bills because she's better at bookkeeping. That's one of the things she does as a bookkeeper. And so she's better at handling our finances. I'm an impulse guy. You know, those impulse aisles at Walmart, they're made for me. It's like I'm their target audience. Now I'm checking out with, a gallon of milk. And I'm like, ooh, I do need a new flash drive and a Hot Wheels. That's good looking Hot Wheels, right? Like those aisles were made for me. So I was horrible at paying bills. My wife's much better at it. So you talk about manage your money together with wisdom. Let's dive in.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So you can avoid a lot of pain by simply just saying, okay, let's talk about money, and let's talk about doing it together. We need to get on the same page, because when you have two different ideas, or two different desires, or if you will, two different approaches to money. And basically, all of us can be broken into two categories, or somewhere in the middle between the two. And that's the spender and the saver. So a spender is like what Brent was just talking about, impulse buy, just whatever, and we spend to feel good. Savers, on the other hand, are motivated often by fear. I'm not going to have enough, and so I need to put everything I have in the bank. Well, both extremes are unhealthy. Okay. So the balancing point is that spenders need to learn how to save, but savers need to learn how to spend. So that's step one. Then you want to then decide, or track your spending and see where your money's going right now. Then you want to put your priorities on paper, and that's called a spending plan. What is important to you? How much are you saving? How much are you giving to your church or other charities, or whatever you want to do? But having that attitude of gratitude and being generous with your finances is really important as well. What else? And then you have all of the things you have to pay. But then there's probably money left over, and then there's things that you get to pay. So, how much you want to spend on eating out? Most couples, when I talk to you about managing funds, I mean, and they start tracking, they're shocked at how much money goes to places like Starbucks and McDonald's, and let alone nice restaurants. And so it's just, they're tired, the kids are hungry, so let's just drive through someplace on the way home, and that's dinner. And that works every once in a while, but it's all about planning ahead. What do you want to do with your money? So when my wife and I started doing this, and this was years ago, we limited our personal cash, okay, to $50 each a month. And so but this was probably 20, 25 years ago, maybe. And so I realized that, you know what? I can save that 50 bucks, and I can go play a round of golf at a cheap golf course for that. And I'd rather play golf than eat lunch. So instead of buying my lunch out, I started making my lunch. And so either leftovers, or, buying groceries and putting it together, or whatever. And you know what? I'm still, to this day, I never go out for lunch unless I'm doing something special, with a friend or a business associate or something like that. Or unless somebody treats me to lunch, then I'll go out. Of course, that'll be great. But the idea is that you get to make choices with what you want to do with your funds. And that is called a spending plan, or the other word is called a budget. A budget, to me, though, sounds a lot like a diet. Who wants to go on a diet? I don't want to go on a diet. Well, I certainly don't want to be told no about budgeting. But here's the thing I want you guys to also remember about your marriage, okay? Is that you don't want to get in the place of being the bad guy, nor do you want to make your wife be the bad guy. All right. And you know what I mean by this. So Brent and his wife are in Walmart and he sees the latest, greatest, shiniest little thing for your truck. You probably drive a truck, right?
I drive a motorcycle.
Ah, okay. For his motorcycle, then. All right. This is really, maybe it's the wax for the gas tank or the fender, or who knows what it is, the chrome polish or something like this. And it's the latest, greatest deal, or the accessory or whatever it might be, in the computer aisle or something like that. And he looks at his wife and he says, "Hey, this would be great." And you know what he's doing, right? He's asking her, "Is it okay for me to buy this?" So here's what happens in a lot of marriages that causes conflict. She looks at him and says, "No." Now, what is that all about? He's now making her be the bad guy and make those adult decisions and telling the child in him, "No, you can't do this." So, point is, you don't make her the bad guy. Instead, make the budget the bad guy. And the budget says, "Well, you know what? We really can't afford it." Or if we do want that latest, greatest shiny toy, where are we going to pay for it from? What category are we going to take from in order to buy this? So we could cut back on buying clothes for the kids. That would give us the money to buy this. Is that what you would like to do? See what I'm saying? Now your wife isn't the bad guy, or vice versa. Now you don't have to be the bad guy if she's the spender and you're the saver or the one watching the money. So work on it together, unite yourself financially, and you're going to see your marriage grow and get stronger.
Guys, I will tell you from experience, because I used to make my wife the bad guy. Making this switch to turning around, and because my wife doesn't like to tell me no. I don't ask for things very often. Earlier in our marriage, I'm sure I did. I don't ask for things very often, but she doesn't like to tell me no when I actually do, because I don't ask for them very often. And so I lead in with the question of, is it in our budget where I can spend this without hurting us, without impacting us?
Perfect.
And learning to ask that so my wife doesn't have to feel, because I'm not asking her to tell me no. I'm asking her to give me solid information because she knows our budget inside and out. I don't.
That's awesome.
Right. That was a huge, huge event for us when I started making that jump instead of going, please. When you start sounding like your kids are great for that. Kids teach you this, like, oh, wow, I really am sounding like my children. Right now, guys, if you're getting something out of it, be sure and click the like button, leave a comment, leave us a review, share this with a friend. That's much more important to me. Share this with a friend who would benefit from this conversation, because our goal is to touch as many men's lives as possible. We are very pro marriage here. Fight for your marriage. I want to give you tools to help you have a better marriage. So please, if you know anybody who would benefit from this conversation, please, please, please share it with them. Kelly, we're going to start land this airplane. What are the first 3 steps our listeners can do today to start this journey, to start putting their marriage together into a better place? Whether they've got a good marriage and this is a checkup and a tune-up, or whether they think they're struggling, wherever they are, what are the first 3 steps our listeners can implement from this conversation?
So 3 things that I would really is to do. First off, look at the anger, okay? Because that, as I said earlier, is not just hindering, it's hurting your marriage. If anger is a problem, and it could be your wife's problem, it may not be yours, but if it is, then absolutely learn to take that time out and then start really thinking about, okay, what do I need to do to get a handle on this? But take the time out and then figure out what you need to talk about and come back and have a productive conversation. So that would be tip number 1. Tip number 2 is the listening part. Listen to understand, don't listen to reply. And just really spending time doing that. probably tip number 3 is make your wife feel special, and figure out how to give and serve and demonstrate your love on a regular basis to her. You do those 3 things, and things are going to change dramatically. And by the way, if you get stuck, let me know if I can help you.
Kelly, any big projects coming down the line for you?
Working on an audiobook for my book, and a workbook, and maybe even a small group study guide that I'm going to put together. So working on that. Yeah, just really blessed at all of the couples that are coming my way for coaching. And so, yeah, having a lot of fun having conversations with folks about stuff.
Where's the best place for people to connect with you after this conversation?
Turnitup.coach is my website. And so there it is. Yeah, the website. And you can book a free call. You can get my book. And I'm actually offering a free digital copy of it at turnitup.coach/75. So if you would like a free copy of the book, reach out to me via that way or via the website. And then that will get you the free copy. There it is. Yeah, turnitup.coach/75. Awesome. And you can get a paperback copy for a 75% discount. So I'm offering that right now.
All right. Now, I know all you guys are really concerned about the most visited attraction in the world. You said the Eiffel Tower is actually the forbidden city in China. It's the
Is
number
it?
most visited,
Oh,
but I think it has to do with population, because if
yeah,
you're Chinese, right, you're more likely to visit something in country, and there's just a lot more Chinese individuals in the world
that is true.
based on population. So I think that's where that comes in, because the Eiffel Tower is way up there. I know. Guys, the book is Turn It Up by Kelly Dupee. Kelly, wrap us out. If the audience heard nothing else today, what's the last thing you want to leave them with?
Learn how to be married. Don't try to figure this out on your own. Take the time to learn how to do it right and how to do it successfully. And it will save you tons emotionally, financially, in all ways. Save yourself the trouble. Learn how to be married.
Guys, for myself and Kelly, thanks for hanging out today. Be better tomorrow because of what you do today, and we'll see you on the next one.
This has been the Fallible Man Podcast, your home for everything man, husband, and father. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a show. Head over to www.thefallibleman.com for more content and get your own Fallible Man gear.